The zipper on my tent started opening before I heard the footsteps. Not fast either. Slow enough that I could actually watch the metal pull tab move inch by inch in the glow from my lantern while I sat frozen inside my sleeping bag, trying to convince myself wind could somehow unzip a tent from the outside. It was around 2 in the morning, maybe later. My phone had died an hour earlier, even though I'd charged it fully before the trip. I remember the exact sound the zipper made, because once you hear something like that in complete wilderness silence, your brain locks onto it permanently. Tiny metallic teeth separating, then stopping, then moving again. I grabbed the flashlight beside my pillow and said, "Hey," louder than I meant to. The zipper stopped immediately. Total silence after that. No footsteps, no breathing, nothing moving outside except rain dripping off pine branches. I stayed completely still for probably 30 seconds before finally shining the flashlight toward the tent door. The zipper had opened, maybe 6 inches, just enough to fit fingers through. I don't camp anymore because of that night. People always assume something dramatic happened immediately after, but honestly, the worst part was how normal everything seemed at first. This was supposed to be a quick solo trip near Black Creek Reservoir in Northern California. 2 nights. Just hiking, fishing, getting away from work. The campsite itself wasn't even fully remote. There were maybe 7 designated sites spread around the lake, with a ranger station about 4 miles back down the access road. I picked Site 6 because it sat farther from the others near the tree line. More privacy. At least that's what I wanted then. Earlier that evening, I'd noticed only 2 other occupied campsites. One RV near the water with an older couple cooking dinner, and another small tent site uphill from mine, occupied by a guy, maybe in his 40s, wearing a red flannel jacket. I remember him because he kept appearing silently in weird places. First, near the water pumps, then standing beside the trail nap when I came back from fishing. Then later at dusk I saw him walking slowly through empty campsites, looking down at the ground, like he'd lost something. Every time I passed him he nodded politely but never spoke. Around sunset he finally did. I was stacking firewood when he walked into the edge of my site carrying a flashlight that wasn't turned on yet. He asked if I'd seen a little girl nearby. The question caught me off guard because there were no kids anywhere around the campground. I told him no. He stared past me toward the trees for a second before saying, "She keeps wandering off after dark." Then he thanked me and walked away before I could ask anything else. I remember watching him leave, thinking maybe he had family camping farther down the road. But later, when I passed the campground registration board near the bathrooms, I noticed only 3 sites were checked in. Mine, the RV couple's, and Site 2 listed under a single male occupant. Red flannel dye. No family. That bothered me enough that I almost drove out right then, which sounds ridiculous now because nothing technically threatening had happened. But something about the way he asked felt rehearsed, like he expected me to say yes. By around 11 p.m. rain started coming down hard enough to kill my campfire. I retreated into the tent, watched downloaded videos for a while, then eventually tried sleeping. Sometime later I woke up needing to pee and immediately noticed my lantern was off, even though I always leave it dimmed overnight. I thought maybe the battery died. Then I saw my backpack sitting beside the tent entrance, partially unzipped. I knew I hadn't left it like that because I'm obsessive about organizing gear. I checked inside, nothing missing as far as I could tell, but my car keys had been moved from the front pocket to the main compartment underneath my clothes. That's the detail that really unsettled me. Somebody would have had to actually search through the bag to move them there. I spent the next 10 minutes listening carefully before finally hearing movement outside. Slow, crunching footsteps circling through wet leaves, not animal movement. Too deliberate. Step, pause, step, pause. That's when the tent zipper started opening. After I yelled and the sound stopped, I forced myself to unzip the tent fully and look outside, because staying trapped inside felt worse somehow. Rain hit my face immediately. The campsite looked empty under flashlight beams. My fire pit hissed softly in the rain. Nobody near the trees, nobody near my car, but there was something hanging from the picnic table bench I knew hadn't been there before. a small pink child's raincoat, water dripping from the sleeves. I just stared at it, trying to process why somebody would leave a kid's coat in my campsite at 2 a.m. Then I heard what sounded like a little girl laughing somewhere deeper in the woods. Short laugh, very close, maybe 30 yards away. I yelled hello again. No response after that. Just rain. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I locked myself in my car until sunrise with the engine running intermittently for heat. Around 6 a.m., the red flannel guy walked calmly down the road carrying a tackle box. Alone. He waved when he saw me sitting inside the car like nothing strange had happened. I rolled the window down slightly and asked if he found the girl from last night. He looked genuinely confused for a second. Then he smiled a little and said, "What girl?" I swear my stomach physically dropped. I reminded him about the conversation near my fire. He just shook his head slowly and said, "You probably dreamed that." Then he continued walking toward the lake. I almost left right then. Instead, I drove to the ranger station because I wanted somebody official to tell me I was overreacting. The station was a small cabin-style office with one ranger on duty named Kelly. Mid-30s maybe, tired eyes. When I mentioned the red flannel guy asking about a missing child, her expression changed immediately. Not panic, more irritation mixed with concern. She asked which campsite he was staying in. When I told her Site 2, she went quiet for a moment before saying that Site was supposed to be empty because the occupant canceled the reservation the previous afternoon. She checked the registry twice to confirm it. No check-in overnight either. I told her I literally spoke to him less than an hour earlier. She asked if I'd be willing to drive back with her. On the way there, she asked whether he'd said anything else unusual. I mentioned the little girl in the raincoat. Kelly gripped the steering wheel tighter and asked what color the coat was. Pink. She immediately turned on the truck radio and requested another ranger meet us at Site 2. I asked what was going on. She hesitated before finally telling me a 6-year-old girl disappeared from the campground 3 years earlier during a storm almost identical to last night's. Last confirmed sighting was a pink raincoat near the lake trail. Her body was never found. That hit me hard enough I actually laughed nervously because suddenly everything felt staged somehow, like somebody intentionally recreated details from the case. When we reached my campsite, the raincoat was gone. So was every footprint around my tent, except my own tire tracks from moving the car earlier. Kelly inspected the area silently while I explained the backpack and zipper situation. Then we drove uphill towards Site 2. Empty. No tent, no vehicle. No fire remnants, nothing, except damp ground and an old beer can crushed near the picnic table. Kelly looked disturbed enough now that she radioed for deputies instead of another ranger. While waiting, she asked me to describe the man carefully. Halfway through my description, she interrupted and asked if he had a scar near his chin. I said yes, small white line. She stopped writing immediately. Perhaps the missing girl's uncle had a scar there. He'd been questioned heavily during the original investigation because witnesses claimed he wore all the roles and cares of the sentimental distance could be found in a boating accident. That word again, officially. I started feeling genuinely sick then because I remembered another detail I hadn't thought about before. The tackle box he carried that morning had no fishing rod with it, just the box. Deputies arrived around noon and treated me respectfully at first, though I could tell they thought stress and darkness probably distorted things. Then one deputy searched the woods behind my campsite and found fresh cigarette butts buried under wet leaves. Red flannel fibers caught on a broken branch nearby too. Suddenly everybody took it more seriously. They searched trails around the reservoir until evening. No sign of anyone. Around sunset I decided to pack and leave. Kelly actually encouraged it at that point. She gave me her number in case I remembered anything else and apologized repeatedly for the situation. Before driving out, I stopped at the main campground bathroom because I'd been avoiding it all day. The place was empty except for flickering fluorescent lights and muddy footprints leading to the far sink. I was washing my hands when the bathroom door opened behind me. I looked up expecting another camper. Nobody there. Door still swinging slightly. Then from one of the closed stalls came a man's voice saying softly, "Did you find her coat?" I froze completely. Same voice, calm, familiar. The stall door was shut, but I could see muddy boots underneath. I backed toward the exit slowly and said, "Who are you?" Silence for maybe 5 seconds. Then the voice replied, "She hates the lake after dark." I ran. I don't mean backed away cautiously. I actually sprinted out of the bathroom and nearly slammed into one of the deputies outside. By the time we went back in together with flashlights and sidearms drawn, the bathroom was empty. No muddy boots, no person. One stall window at the back was pushed open maybe 8 inches, despite rusted hinges that barely moved. The deputy checked outside immediately, but the ground behind the building was untouched mud, no tracks leading away. At that point, deputies searched the entire campground again. They found nothing, except something even stranger near the lakeshore, around 9 p.m. My car keys. The same keys that had been moved inside my backpack during the night. I know they were back in my bag afterward because I drove to the ranger station that morning. Yet somehow the originals ended up near the water, while my current set still sat in my pocket. Same scratches, same keychain, identical. One deputy joked maybe I had an extra copy and forgot. I didn't. Even Kelly looked unsettled holding them. I left immediately after that. The drive out took almost 40 minutes through narrow forest roads with no signal. About halfway down the mountain, I noticed headlights appear behind me. Older truck, keeping distance. At first I assumed it belonged to one of the deputies leaving late, but every time I slowed slightly, the truck slowed too, never passing. Never getting closer, just staying there. My radio kept heading into static the whole drive, and once through the static I heard what sounded like a little girl humming. Probably signal interference, probably my nerves. Then my headlights swept across a roadside sign showing directions back toward Black Creek Reservoir. Someone had spray-painted words across the bottom in white paint. She was cold. I almost missed the next curve staring at it. When I looked back in the mirror, the truck behind me had turned off its headlights completely, but I could still hear its engine somewhere in the dark following the road behind me. I drove another 20 miles before finally reaching a gas station near the highway. The truck never appeared again. I stayed inside the station until sunrise, drinking burnt coffee and pretending to watch news on a tiny TV while actually staring out the windows at every vehicle that pulled in. Around 7 a.m., Kelly texted me asking if I'd made it out safely. Then, about 2 minutes later, another message came from an unknown number. Just one sentence. "You left her raincoat behind."